So you want to see something? This is why.
What is that?
The recoil and sound is going to be so much bigger for this gun. This is all powder. And this projectile is seated down there. So there's a big projectile and a lot of powder.
What's this little tip?
That is an expansion tip. So
Don't point that at me.
you can point this.
Don't point that at me.
This is a really pretty big disadvantage of hunting in California, but this has to be all copper. So this is all copper.
Mm-hmm. Can't use lead.
Exactly.
Because of the condors.
Yeah. So this thing, copper is a much harder metal than lead. Mm. Lead is like almost like perfect for a bullet because it maintains its shape, but it expands. So like. I was telling you about like what kills when a bullet hits you. Mm-hmm. So most people would think that this bullet, like its mechanism of damage, is that like it punches holes in things and then you bleed from those holes.
Yeah,
that's really not what happens. This thing has a certain amount of kinetic energy in it, equal to 1/2 mv squared. And so when you get a piece of that much velocity and it comes in and like hits you in the lungs, for example, what'll happen is. Traditional bullets, they're gonna hit and expand because it's soft and it's going so fast. It's like almost like hitting concrete, even if it just hits flesh. And so it expands, and sometimes it won't even pass all the way through you, or if it's well constructed, it'll pass like just barely, like almost like just fall out the back of you, which means that all of the energy that was in this bullet, 1/2 mv squared, gets imparted to your tissues. Yeah, well, and like for example, like if we shoot a deer in the lungs, when you open that deer up, its lungs are essentially just jello because that bullet, when it hits you and starts expanding, it's dumping that energy into you and causing these huge shock waves, pressure waves, as it hits tissues and expands. And so, yeah, like think of what your blood pressure is doing when you have all that energy being dumped into your circulatory system. It's going just like higher than you could ever imagine. And then when it jelloifies your lungs, your blood pressure automatic, like it's like a rebound effect, like way higher than normal and then way lower than normal, and you lose consciousness
very quickly,
very like instantaneously, basically. But a problem with this would be called like a monolithic bullet made out of one material, is it doesn't expand like that, so it can just pencil through you, and you essentially don't even receive energy. There's no energy imparted into your target. It'll just pencil right through. You're like, whoa, what happened? Like you might not even know what happened.
You might not even know you got shot.
You might not even know you got shot.
I feel like that's what happens more in the movies.
There's no energy exchange between the projectile and the target.
Yeah.
Just.
And that's because it's copper and not lead.
Yeah, or a monolithic bullet. And so, yeah, that's a big challenge. And one of the and like if you just pencil through, even if you just pencil through the lungs, like an elk or a deer can run 5 miles on one lung. You're never going to find that animal. It'll die, but you won't find it.
Yeah. So what does this do now?
So the idea behind the technology is really improving with monolithic bullets, but they need to impart energy onto the target. And in order to do that, they need to expand and like dump energy into tissues. And so the idea behind this thing is if you were to like take this bullet apart, there's like little grooves that are cut on the inside of it. And then this bullet, there's a cavity in the middle of this that's hollow. So this tip is gonna, when it hits something, is gonna push the tip here back into the bullet and force it to pedal out and expand. Oh. And so it increases its effective diameter, and it also is going to allow you to impart energy onto your target if this thing mushrooms correctly.
So what is this made out of, the tip?
It's polymer. But it's supposed to drive back and wedge the bullet open.
But it won't do that passing through the air, so it remains aerodynamic until it hits the surface of the animal.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is the gun that we're going to be hunting with. This is my 7mm Red Mag. It's this is a custom build, this gun. So It's on a Predator Stiller action. This is
What's
a
the
Bartline.
Stiller action?
So the action, anytime you refer to like an action, is like all guns are gonna have like, I shouldn't say all guns, but most rifles at least are gonna have like 3 main components, which is like the stock. This is the stock.
The body.
Yeah, you call it the body. It's called the stock.
Yeah.
Then you have the barrel. Mm-hmm. This is a custom barrel. It's a Bartline barrel. And you can see this is where it threads into the receiver. Mm-hmm. You'd call this the receiver,
right here,
this large part here. And the receiver and the bolt essentially make up the action of the rifle. This is the gun, if you will. Like really like the barrel, this is just a piece of steel with a hole drilled in the middle of it. This is just a piece of polymer molded to specific dimensions. If you were to, even in the state of California, you can buy a barrel, just get it shipped here. You can buy a stock.
Even in California.
Yeah. Because it's just a piece of steel with a hole in the middle of it. So I should say, right, this is your bolt. Mm-hmm. This is your magazine. Mm-hmm. If I put a bullet, you just put the bullet into the magazine like that. See that? Mm-hmm. And then as you go like this.
Oh, it's in there now.
Yeah.
Wow, I saw it like pop up into the bolt and then just.
Yep. So if you were to press that trigger right now, that would go off.
No.
Yeah.
Ah.
So
Wow.
that's how
easy it is.
You load it. But do you see how when I do this, like there's so little play in this system.
It's just very straightforward and efficient, you mean?
It's my tolerances are incredibly small. I'm going to be loading that bullet into this chamber. Look, like there's no play in the position of this bolt.
What like it doesn't move? What do you mean by play?
Like it is always going to be in the exact same position.
But wouldn't that be the case for any gun?
No. I mean, any mechanical system has tolerances. You understand that, right?
Like wiggle.
Yeah. Like depending on your precision of measurement, you could get so precise that no 2 bolts could ever be made the exact same length.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course. I mean, not of course, but whoa, okay, yeah.
And so with this platform, the level of tolerances are incredibly small, and because of the way that it locks into place like this, and because of the simplicity of the design, I can have incredibly tight tolerances on this weapons system.
But how do you know that? Like, did the gunsmith just tell you that, or it's a feeling you have by holding it, or like
okay,
what?
It's inherent to the bolt action platform, and I'm contrasting this against semi-automatic weapons.
It's like genre of gun.
This genre of gun.
Yeah.
Now, within that, this company and this build, right, is 2 or 3 levels even more precise.
What's the word you're using again? Not play. What was it?
Tolerance.
Tolerance.
Yeah. So like Stiller.
It's a strange word for that concept.
The Stiller Predator is going to be like they're going to have incredibly tight tolerances.
No tolerance. We got no tolerance around.
Well,
here.
that's not a gun term. That's a mechanical engineering.
Yeah, no, it's just
engineering
interesting
term.
that's the term. It's like only one thing could fit in here, and that's the thing it was designed for, and anything else is not. You know, it's like
Yeah. And so what this does though is because we have that repeatability.
Yeah.
Right. We can always tune our scope to adjust point of impact. But as long as the point of impact is the same position in space every single time, you can build an incredibly precise tool. Right, so this I can put, if you were to go hang a quarter in a tree, I can hit that 5 out of 5 times.
No, from how far?
100 yards.
A quarter?
A quarter, yeah, like a quarter, George Washington. Yeah.
And that's just because of the tolerance of the system and the scope, the way the scope is fitted to the system.
Yeah, so you don't have any play in your rings. These are your rings. The scope needs to be mounted properly. It needs to track properly. The scope is, you make a good point, it's a very important part of that entire process. But the gun itself, the scope doesn't matter if the gun itself isn't capable of that level of precision.
How would you compare the tolerance of this gun to the 32 Winchester Special?
Not even comparable.
Like, what would be a metaphor? Like like the Yankees to the Weaverville Little League team?
The 32 without having shot it.
The
I
old
would say
32 Winchester Special.
I would say it's
The rifle that won the
probably
West.
I would be happy with that gun if it shot 3 minutes of angle.
Which is how many inches?
3 inches of dispersion. So think of like
It's not horrible.
like a baseball at 100 yards.
I mean, look, it's accurate enough to kill a deer. But
See,
it's
where
not
that
great.
becomes important
When it's
is
far away.
when you start talking about at 400 yards.
Yeah.
Right. I can keep this within a vital zone at 400 yards. Whereas the gun itself isn't capable of that level of precision when you're talking about your 32.
Gotcha.
So you can ethically shoot a lot farther with something like this, you know, and you just, you know that, I know that among the things that can fuck me up, the gun isn't one of them, you know, and so that's kind of why it's all worth it. And then this thing here,
This little tripod.
yeah, this is just my
Dual
bipod
pod,
to mount it. It'd probably be a good idea for you to get behind this and kind of look through it a couple times.
The scope.
Yeah, so let me just show you.
back and see that bear coming up the hill.
We are almost always going to be trying to get a shot prone. If I can get you in a prone position,
Prone.
prone. Have you heard prone before?
No.
It's just like lying down
Oh, yeah.
on your stomach. That's like a prone position.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we can get you in a prone position, I'd probably be comfortable with you shooting like out to like maybe 200 yards. If we're not able to get you in a prone position, like 100 yards might be pushing it.
Meaning I would be shooting standing up?
Like almost never. If you were standing up, the deer would need to be like 20 yards away.
Because of the kick?
For me.
Because of the kick?
No,
or-
just because you can't.
You can't steady your hands that
st-
much.
No.
So what else would you put it on? Like a log or a branch?
Anything. You're always trying to get prone. Okay, so
Get
you
prone.
want.
All right, can you show me how to do that right now?
Yeah, so this is essentially what we're gonna do here. Okay, so always check, double check. A lot of the time
I
when
love how safe you are. It actually makes me feel much more comfortable about this whole process.
so like when I transport my gun and like what I just did there, did you see what I just did there?
Yeah, you double check.
Well, that, and then I'm gonna pull the trigger
What?
because I know that my gun is in a safe direction right now.
It's pointed at my grandma's china.
And now like all the energy's out of this system. I don't even have any energy left in the system
Because you
to release a firing
you
pin.
fired it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get prone.
But yeah, you're just gonna get behind the rifle. So what I'll normally do is just like use this to stabilize my butt end. And the other thing I'm doing.
Use what? Oh, to stabilize the butt. Yeah.
Yeah. But like ideally, even like if you have just like if there's like a rock here, or like let's say we have like time to set up. Like let's say we were to find a deer that's like bedded 380 yards away, and
Just
it's not
or
moving
sleep.
anytime.
Yeah.
Like we know it's gonna be there for a while. What I'd probably do is I would probably get out of my pack like my jacket or something,
Yeah,
and
put
I
it
would
under.
bunch it up to in such a way that it literally stabilized the rifle naturally, neutrally, with this crosshairs directly on the deer, you know. But like in the absence of anything like that, I'll normally put my hand here to stabilize it. And then all you're doing, you always want to have a little bit of like forward tension into this, or if you.
Floor tension?
So like I've got my bipod in the ground right now, right?
Yeah.
So like what I'll do normally is like I'll like load this gun a little bit. So I'm gonna lean into it. What I'm saying is
yeah,
I
push
want
it
there
forward.
to be pressure. I don't want this to be like,
Loose, yeah.
I want this to be tight.
Tight against your shoulder and tight against the ground where the biped is. Or the
Yeah.
bipod
Like
is,
I
yeah.
want this
That makes
rifle
sense,
to
yeah.
be like axially loaded.
Grounded, so it's grounded.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the recoil is going to come in, is because let's say that this is all
Ooh, you're gonna
loosey
get
goosey
fucked,
right
yeah.
here. Boom! It's gonna hit me in the eye. Whereas if this is tight, do you see what I mean?
That's all it's gonna kick?
Well, I'm gonna really limit it. Think about it. Let's say we were to keep this gun. What if we hung this gun from the roof, from a line of fishing string,
And then shot
and
it.
then pulled. Someone just went like this and went. Phew,
It would probably fly
it would go
back.
boom,
Yeah.
way back like this. Whereas, what if we leaned this against the wall and pulled the trigger? How far back would it go?
It probably wouldn't go back far at
It'd
all.
probably just compress the butt pad because it had nowhere to go back.
Yeah.
So in
So you
one
want to
case,
get up on the gun. You want to. You want to.
yeah,
wanna crowd it.
You want to be like the wall. You don't want to be like the fishing
Yeah.
line.
You want to get in the gun. You want to be the gun.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does intuitively.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. And then,
All right. Hey, does it have a name? Should I call it? Like, no.
doesn't have a name.
No name? Okay.
No.
Hey, Fran. Don't hurt me. Okay.
Now don't overdo what I just
wow, my
said.
shoes. Wow. The glass is beautiful.
Okay,
Looking
so
at my shoes
let
on
me
the floor over
show
there,
you
it's like
something
a-
here real
it's like-
quick.
Peering on. Yeah. Wait. I'm not in the. I know I'm not in the right position yet. I was just beholding the wonder of the scope.
Well, behold it from the correct
Oh,
position.
okay. Sorry. Okay.
So like I'm gonna be a little picky right now.
Yeah. No. Please do.
But like if I were to like draw this line from like this is like the axis of your body right now. And
Wait.
It-
Which line?
like I'm tracing just like your spine. So like I've got this on your head and that at the base of your spine and like your body is pointing this way.
Okay. I'm not aligned.
Yeah.
Wow.
I want
no
you to
wonder
get
you were
beh-
good at golf. This feels very golf to me. Like, where are your feet pointing?
Yeah, like I want you to be right behind the rifle. And that'll also make it easier for you to line up your eye directly behind the light beam being projected out the back end of the scope.
The scope is beautiful. Like, looking through it, even though I'm just looking at the floor in the dining room, it's like,
Yeah.
it's so clear. It's like clearer than my eyes. Okay.
So of the number I quoted you for the price of that gun, more than 50% of that is in the scope.
Got it. That makes sense.
And I will say, like, definitely like load it, but don't overdo this because you can break this.
Yeah, okay.
But like, you just want like, don't overdo it, but just get a little bit of that loading going on.
Okay, so now I'm looking through the scope, and the middle where those two lines come together is where I want to line the shot up, right?
Correct.
It's obvious.
Now
Anyone
that
who's
has
played-
there's some caveats with that, but let's just
anyone
for
who's
right
played
now say
GoldenEye
yes.
and 64 knows that. Just making sure. Okay. So wait, let me just get into the final position.
So we're gonna
I
have
know I
you
would be
do what's
straight
called
there.
dry fire here. This is actually a very useful exercise. So now what I want you to do is go through the process like you're gonna shoot. Okay? So put the gun down and now practice what you would do if you were to load one with the chamber. Let's say
Where's that bullet? It's right there.
No, but
I'm not gonna put that in
Yeah.
right now. I just wanted to know where.
But let's say it looks a lot like this, the way we'd be hiking in. And let's say we are at our spot and there's a deer and we've got rounds in the magazine, but not one in the chamber. Yep, so you're gonna pull the bolt back and you're gonna push it forward. You don't need to do anything with that other hand, but yeah. Okay.
And then it would
you're
be in
good.
there.
So we should also say, yep, now you'd be loaded. Now the one thing you'd want to check is, do you see this little lever right here?
Mm-hmm.
If you look, there's an F right there.
An F where? Need a light. Yeah, I see that.
That F,
Oh, this is a safety.
that's fire.
Beautiful.
That S is
Wow,
safe.
just moving these things around.
Yeah.
Like it feels really nice.
Yeah.
Like I'm in like a fucking German car or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like boo. Even just clicking
It's
the
a very
safety
like
is,
tight, clean mechanical system.
It
Yeah.
feels nice.
So put it in fire.
Fires up. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the bullet's in there.
Okay. Now
Now the deer's
Get
sprinting
behind-
across a ridge 400 yards away. I'm
And then
gonna
it's
line
gonna
it up.
stop.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna hit that one.
so no, you're doing it wrong now.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that. And you want your cheek, yeah. Like I want to see your cheek, like kind of, yeah, that looks real good right there. I like that. And now just get to the point where your crosshairs are stable. And then when you feel good, when it comes to trigger pull, do not say, okay, and now you die, and then pull the trigger. What I want you to do is, as lightly as you possibly can, when you're ready to shoot, touch the face of the trigger. And then all I want you to do is, like, as slowly as you possibly can, just start increasing the pressure. Start increasing the pressure. And at a certain point, it's going to break.
How long does it usually
And you want it
take
to
you
surprise
before
you.
it shoots?
Me, less time now than it used to, but if you need to take a while, then that's okay.
It's moving with my breath. Do you hold your breath?
Different people have different things. For right now, I'd just say focus on whatever's comfortable to you.
I think I'd probably hold my breath right before the shot to stabilize it.
That's fine.
Wow, this is already a rush. Oh, whoa, it's sensitive.
It's sensitive.
It's sensitive.
So
I
that's
thought I
another-
was gonna have to like pull it, but it just went.
So I have that thing set wicked light. The lighter the tension, the more accurate you're able to be.
That's insane. So I'm not even gonna know when I shoot it.
You
Like,
don't want to know. You always want it to be a surprise.
that was one of the shocking things about my experience this summer shooting the gun for the first time. Is like, you are about to shoot and then you've shot, and there's like this weird void in between not having shot and having shot that feels just like an empty desert, and you're like, what the fuck, how did I get from here to here? Like, I don't know. I don't remember anything.
What's surprising is the people who are good at shooting, it's a bad sign of a shooter who just like, now I shoot, and they shoot.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing that trigger pull, you can have like a lot of like flinching, or the other thing is that like you're applying like unnecessary extra force that can introduce minor twists like this, you know, whereas if you're just like keeping everything dead ass steady and you don't even really know when it's coming off, you know that everything is staying exactly the same and consistent.
Got it. Yeah.
The whole idea is that you want everything to be the exact same every single time.
Totally. Okay, safety question.
Yeah.
I just shot the deer.
You're putting another one in the chamber, like immediately.
That's what I'm asking. There's not going to be another one in there, though, so I don't have to worry about like accidentally
No,
shooting
so this
it.
is not a semi-automatic.
So it's a single bullet.
Well, you got multiple inside the magazine.
Okay, but it's not. I would have to do it again.
Yeah, if you shoot a deer, you're gonna immediately want to work the bolt and get another one in there, because if you didn't kill it ethically and cleanly on the first one, you want to give it a good death, and you want to be able to recover your meat,
Yeah.
so you can give it to your friends and family on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Where would you be when I make the shot?
I'll leave it right like this.
But you'll be there. You won't be a little farther back. You're like next to it.
I can move farther back if you want me to.
Well, I just don't want it to like. I don't want to like hook it and hit you. You know?
Hook it.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I'll be back here. Just anywhere I can, you know? And I'll be looking at the deer. And normally what you see is just like a little ripple on the deer, like right behind its front shoulder. You're like, oh, it's a dead deer, you know?
Just the ripple.
Yeah.
And then will it run for a little and then die, or will it just drop? It just depends.
It depends.
On the shot.
Because we're shooting monolithics, it's probably not going to be dead right there. Because remember, it's not going to dump all the energy into the animal. It's probably going to be like a pass-through, you know?
Which is less humane in a way, right? I think it's so weird that the word is
less
humane.
likely to gonna be a quick death.
Yeah.
It's more likely to be a long. It's more likely to run 50 yards.
Yeah.
And like if this system fails and it pencils, then you might be in for a long tracking.
Yeah.
Long, like 2 days of tracking. With just like a
Whoa.
little bit of blood here, a little bit of blood there.
That's
If
when
it
you
just
need a dog.
pencils through 'em. Yeah. There's always going to be bullets in the magazine.
And will it be in the gun when we're walking around?
Yes. Bullets always in the magazine.
But it won't be in the barrel or in the
Chamber.
chamber.
Yeah. Empty chamber.
How will
So
you
look
know
at
if
the-
it's empty?
Because here's what we'll do. Okay. Let's confirm we have an empty chamber. now the energy's out of the system. Like, this is about as safe as a gun as you're ever going to find right here. Do you understand why
Yeah.
this gun is so safe?
Yeah, because it's like not cocked. There's no bullets in it.
Yeah. So then what we'll do is, you see this little button here inside the trigger guard?
Yeah.
If I push that forward, my
Yeah.
magazine falls out.
Yeah.
I'll put 3 in there. Now let's go hiking. Do you understand how safe this is?
Well, how come you can't put the safety on?
Because the firing pin is released.
Oh, so you can only put the safety on once it's cocked and ready
Yeah.
to shoot?
Yeah.
That's kind of dope.
Well, this
you know?
is an unusual position for the gun to be in, right?
Yeah.
With the firing pin released.
All right. Yeah, I guess that feels...
But, like, do you
That feels pretty
understand what's going on here?
Yeah.
Is there anything that's confusing to you about this? Like, do you understand why I'm so comfortable with this, and like why I think it's okay to hike with bullet rounds in the
Yeah, there's
magazine?
no way this could go off. You would have to cock it, put the bullet in, and then push it forward in order for it to even be ready to shoot.
And then you would need to pull the trigger.
And then pull the trigger, yeah. The only reason this is a little nerve-wracking to me is, like, I feel like you could think this is where it's at.
So from now on, we still are practicing the tab +1 rules of firearm safety.
Yeah, of course.
Those never don't apply.
Of course.
But yeah, this is how we will hunt. This is how, when we're hiking around, we're going to carry our weapons, just like this.
I feel pretty comfortable with this, though.
So, like, you can see there's nothing in that. Like, with the bolted, like, you should feel comfortable with this situation. Like, come down here. Like, this should be a very comfortable place for you. Okay? Because look at the bolt.
The bullet would be in there if it was in there.
Yeah. There's nothing inside of here.
Yeah.
And look at the magazine. You can see this right here. This is called the follower, because all this is. Remember how you used to get really when you're like what's like a good gun or versus a bad gun? You always used to talk about the magazine.
Me?
You were like we'd talk like, should this gun be legal? You'd be like, well, can it have 15 rounds? Like, that was like something that you thought about a lot.
Yeah. Like, how many bullets can
So
you
this is just like a gun right here. Here's my magazine.
Yeah.
This is an outrageously simple mechanism. Mm-hmm. It's a box. Push that down. It's a spring.
Yeah.
And
I know
this
what a magazine
metal
is.
thing is a follower.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing about it is it has a little latch right here. Like, so complicated. It has a latch. I say all this to say you can see the magazine follower. You know there's nothing in the magazine.
Empty. But why are you saying that a magazine is so simple? Like, are you trying to prove that it's an inconsequential?
Yeah, it's like
but
not
it's totally
real.
not. It amounts to being
You can ban
able
the
to...
magazine, but you can't like the gun and the magazine are like two different things.
But the magazine gives a certain potential to the gun that
But any
is
gun
important.
can have any magazine. Any gun could take a 1-round mag if you want, or it could take a 1,000-round mag.
But
It's
the
just a
idea that
mag.
you would have a magazine that has 15 bullets in it versus 3 is a pretty big difference.
But
in
like,
terms
I
of
could
the deadliness
put
of the gun.
15. Yes, but the gun is irrelevant. The gun has nothing to do with it.
But we're talking about the deadliness of the system.
Okay,
which is the gun plus the magazine plus the scope plus the silencer.
I could put a 15-round mag inside of this.
Inside
this
of
gun.
this gun, yeah.
I could also put a 5-round mag inside of an
Totally.
AR-15.
But when we were having that conversation a few years back, I was in support of regulating mags because...
No, you didn't like the gun. You'd be like I remember, like, we were talking about, like semi-automatic weapons, and I was like, well, my shotgun's a semi-auto. You're like, oh, but like, could that take does that have like 15 rounds? I was like, any gun could have 1 round or 15 or
So
100.
you're just trying to make a distinction between the gun and the magazine.
Yeah.
Well, I'm less interested in that distinction and more interested in thinking about what the magazine offers the gun in terms of deadliness. And a magazine that holds 3 bullets makes sense for hunting because unless you're really fucking up, you're not going to be shooting.
I've never taken more than one shot at an animal.
Exactly.
In my whole hunting
Exactly.
career.
So why would you need a magazine with 15 bullets in it?
I don't, but it's irrelevant to the gun control discussion.
No,
the
it's
gun
not.
is the magazine is a magazine.
But you're just doing a semantical. You're just making a semantics argument. Like,
I'm not even making an argument. I'm just like making an observation that like a magazine is like an enormously simple device. It's like hard to overstate the simplicity of
but
this.
so is a bullet.
A bullet is much more complicated. The chemistry that needs to go into like constructing a bullet,
whether it's
and then
complicated or simple,
manufacturing it to the tolerances of that barrel. Like,
but whether it's complicated or simple isn't the point.
It is the point.
The point is that the magazine makes, depending on the magazine and the design of it, whether it can hold 1, 3, or 15 bullets, makes a gun much more or less deadly.
But this has nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with the gun.
Yeah, the magazine. But
Yeah.
what would you say about what would you say about gun regulation?
Reasonably intelligent 12-year-old with a wood shop could make something that would function.
But what would you say about some people's desire to regulate magazines such that you can't have magazines that hold more than 3 bullets in them or whatnot?
What would I say?
Yeah.
I would say that I disagree.
Yeah.
Just on on a values-based decision. When I was talking earlier, like I was saying more just like the technicals of it. Like I think a lot of people don't understand like the technicals of it.
But I think that's sort of irrelevant for the discussion about whether or not they should be regulated or not.
Yeah.
People don't really need to know whether it's a complex or simple part of a gun.
Well,
they just need to know how many bullets it holds.
But I think that if you have like nefarious intentions, it's such an easy device to construct. It's like
totally. I mean, they're always
like I think
make
it's
it
just
yourself.
like it's a great example of just like the people who would suffer from that are the people who would be using it lawfully in the first place. Like
who?
Like criminals, by definition, are not going to follow the law. Like they're also not following the law when they go and shoot people with it.
Yeah.
So
you're saying if you wanted to do a mass shooting or to do some other sort of criminal act with a gun, you would find a way. You would find a way to get a magazine with 15, 20, 30 rounds, no matter what.
Well, yeah, you could buy them on the black market easily, just like drugs, right? There's a black market for everything. Yeah. That's illegal. And then you could also just like modify. Like it's really easy to modify something.
I understand
like in
what
your
you're saying.
basement.
In terms of the regulation, but I still do wholeheartedly believe that I don't see any reason for anyone to have a magazine that holds more than 3 bullets in it. Like,
what about just like for recreational shooting? What about for defense? Like I modified my shotgun for home defense to hold five shells. Because like, what if you needed it? What if you missed the first 3 times?
I just don't really like thinking about guns in the terms of self-defense because I don't really believe they make people safer. But that's probably a longer conversation.
But like, what if someone came into your house and they had guns and you didn't? You're their bitch now.
I would say, what do you want? Take it.
I want to kill you.
But if I had a gun, it would turn into a shootout and I would likely die and innocent people would likely die. I would much rather say, take the house.
What if like I want
and here's the keys to my house down the road.
You know? Like that's what I want. I want to kill you. At least you'd have a chance.
What kind of enemies do you got?
I'm just saying, like, so I disagree. I do think that guns have a position in self-defense. It's one of the reasons that I own guns is for self-defense. And yeah, I think that for that reason, there's a lot of situations in which you'd want a 15-round mag.
I would never own a gun for self-defense. That's just where I'm at. I mean, I totally see that a lot of people do buy guns. I mean, it's
the most common reason people buy guns in the United States.
And that's why gun sales have gone up.
Hunting market is a pretty small. I mean, it's not a small market, but what drives the bus for guns in the United States is the self-defense market.
Yeah, I think I just see the discourse of safety and like people's desire to feel safety as like creating all of these sort of nasty political dynamics, like driving up here on the freeway, on the highway up the 5, all of these signs say, recall Governor Newsom, vote for Larry Elder, make California safe again. You know, and it's like, okay, like, what does that even mean, really? Like, I see the idea of safety being mobilized there, not just to sell guns, but to sell a very particular political imaginary about the state of California, that some people are in danger and need to vote a certain way in order to maintain their safety. But with that vote comes all of these other, political questions, political desires, political projects that I find unseemly. So I just generally don't like thinking about being unsafe that much because I also don't feel that.
I agree with you, man. I think that this is somewhere where I think we agree, but might lead us to very different places. Is like I remember when COVID came out, people were talking about how like one of the most core like basic functions of government is like to keep people safe. And like if they're not like implementing these lockdowns, they're failing like the people in like one of their most basic duties. And I like couldn't disagree with that more. I think that like the core foundational like reason that government exists is to like protect the rights of people. In Stephen's world. That's why I think government exists. And I think that your safety is largely in your own hands. Like you're responsible for your safety. But the government is able to grant you rights and like protect certain rights, like in the United States as outlined in the Bill of Rights.
And one of those rights for you is to like own firearms that will keep you safe.
Well, even if they make me less safe. Like I don't think that safety is the like always the objective function.
Yeah.
I don't always think that safety is what should be like the optimized variable. Even if you were to tell me like, Stephen, like we've done this like perfect analysis with like this like sentient supercomputer, and we found that like your safety will be optimized by getting rid of guns. I'll be like, okay, like I guess that's true, like incontrovertibly true. I would say I still want guns because I understand. I don't. Like, ideally for my safety, I'd be kept in a padded room my whole life. I don't want to.
But what if the supercomputer said you can have guns, but you can't have? If you want to increase your safety by a wide margin and a lot of people around you, you can only ever own a gun that you can put 3 bullets in at a time.
So, this is where it gets into like, where's the line, you know? And like, I think if we were having like, what is the probability of dying from gun violence in the United States? Like, if that probability ever got to the point where it's, like, altering the population trajectory, like you know, like, multiple people who are dying from guns. Like, I know multiple people. Like, I lost my uncle the other day, and you lost your friend's brother, and, like, and we're just losing people left and right. It'll probably come a point where you're like, okay, like, let's get a little more safety here.
More people die of gun violence in the United States than in any other country.
I don't give a shit what the other countries are doing. You hear that a lot. I mean, just because all the other countries suck doesn't mean ours needs to too. But yeah, it's not rising to the point where it is like.
You don't feel unsafe.
I don't feel unsafe.
Yeah. But does owning a gun make you feel safer?
Yeah, it does.
But that's not why you own guns.
It's one of the reasons. I own guns for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Primarily hunting. Secondarily, just like I like guns a lot. Like they bring me like a lot of joy. I like researching
the design
them.
and the mechanics.
Yeah, like if you knew how many hours went into constructing this and how much joy that process brought me, like you'd be amazed. Like,
I mean, I can tell just by the way you talk about it and how much you know about it.
Hours and hours. And I'm also an engineer, so a lot of this stuff just like naturally appeals to me.
I get it.
And just like the precision of this tool, I just find endlessly fascinating.
It's a beautiful tool. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like guns, but I can definitely appreciate this particular rifle as being like very, very gorgeously and intentionally designed.
And like as much as like I can nerd out about this gun, you can do that in the same way with like a handgun or a shotgun. Shotguns are like endlessly cool. I like guns for like the recreational aspect.
So you just like shooting them?
I like shooting guns. I like tinkering with guns. I like modifying guns. They're just really cool systems.
And then after that comes safety.
That are endlessly useful. Right? Like
endlessly useful?
They're like enormously useful tools.
How so?
Like the ability to move a projectile at speed through space in a precise way.
It's only useful for one thing, and that's killing.
No. I'm going to be doing a clay shoe with my company just coming up.
But that's not useful.
I think it's useful.
That's a sport.
Yeah.
there's no usefulness in games except for pleasure
Yeah,
or
that's
joy.
useful.
Okay. True. I mean, if it is joyous and a pleasurable experience, then I guess that is useful. But that's not how I would normally think of the word useful.
All of this amounts to like being able to accomplish a practical objective.
Sure.
Yeah.
But there's nothing practical about shooting a clay plate flying through the air.
No, but there's an objective being accomplished.
Yeah. I feel like you sort of align yourself with like the spirit of like the objective of the gun. You're like, yes, it's like very like linear and task oriented.
Yeah.
And it requires lots of thought and planning and design to accomplish that task. And it's extremely efficient and precise. And that is just a pleasurable experience to be like a part of that system. It appeals
to me.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different types of guns that accomplish those objectives in different ways.
Yeah.
And like trying to understand like how different things can be suited to different objectives based on the design principles.
I see that, and it's not necessarily something that I would get super excited about, but I understand that the safety component of guns, like, I just have a problem with thinking about guns as making people safe.
When I talk about, but again, I don't care if it's more dangerous.
Yeah, I get that.
Accept that,
and I appreciate your honesty with that because I feel like a lot of people just really hang on to like, this gun makes me feel safe or makes me safe, and that's why I have it, and that's why I want my guns. And I think even if it was true,
I'm not granting.
Wait. Even if it was true for that gun owner, they were safe. It did make them feel safe. I don't think that's true for everyone in society, and especially people who don't own guns, especially people who maybe are like not like people of color or whatever, or women or whatever. Guns might make some people in society safer, but it does not make everyone in society safer, and that's why I think the safety argument is bullshit. But you know, it's
so I don't grant you that. But even if that were to be true, and I were to grant that point, it would still not change my outlook.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter for you. I get that.
And like obviously, like for me, there's a point where like the logical extreme, like okay, everyone gets a nuke. Like no, okay, now we've moved to a point on the risk scale that I'm not willing to tolerate. But we, in my opinion, where we sit in the United States, we're nowhere even remotely close to that level of risk.
Once we start knowing a lot of people who have died from nuke violence, then we'll know we'll have a nuke problem, and we're gonna need nuke control.
Yeah. So this thing right here. There's two things that are worth noting about this: the muzzle brake. These are what's called muzzle devices. Okay.
Looks like black electrical tape.
It is black electrical tape.
No, really?
Yeah. So why have we done this?
After all this precision, you're gonna put a piece of tape on the tip of it?
Yeah.
It's janky as hell.
I like where your mind's going. You're right about that. But the reason we do this is because we want to keep this clear and free. So one thing you should always do when you're out hunting is wrap the muzzle with electrical tape.
Until you're ready to shoot.
Nope. So there's gonna be...
you just shoot through the tape.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the bullet never actually touches tape. Think about this.
That is psychotic. Yeah, I get it.
There's a bullet here. In order for the bullet to even get through this, it has to push this volume of air out.
Yeah, and that just blows through the tape before the bullet
even gets there.
That is hilarious. That's just comedy to me. That's insane.
You think that's funny?
Yeah, it's just so freaky the way this thing works.
And then this is our dope chart right here.
What's that?
This is how you figure out how to hit something far away.
So you have to like aim a little bit higher.
Yeah, so this is currently set up to be dead on at 100 yards. And if you look at this right here, you need to learn how to read this. This is for a 7mm Rem Mag, 150 grain E-tip this is currently moving at 2898 feet per second. I measured that on the range. This hunt is California Unit B1.
You made this just for this hunt?
You have to, because it has to be at the correct elevation, at the correct temperature.
Oh, wow.
And I have to enter the relative humidity all sorts of different atmospheric variables that are going to affect how the bullet flies through the air. It's going to describe essentially the arc of that bullet.
That's really wild.
You see how I have yards here in this column? That's 160. And I go 20-yard increments out to 400 yards. Yeah, so at 160 yards, this column is inches. So you're going to be 1 inch low at 160 yards. It will have dropped 1 inch from where you zeroed it.
So what does an inch correspond to in the scope?
2 clicks.
So is that like in the scope, there's like those little notches or something?
So look right here. No. Don't worry about the scope. We're going to do, all this is going to be dialing.
Oh, you just move the literal orientation of the scope on the rifle.
The crosshairs, the position of the crosshairs within the sight image would change.
Whoa. So you don't have to manually do it. You could just automatically do it.
So let's say I have my laser rangefinder. I shoot it. It's 300 yards. What would you do?
Okay, so 300 yards. 300 yards, 10 clicks. So then I would...
So do your 10 clicks.
So this is at 0.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just go... Wait, what? Where's 10? 4?
No. Don't do that.
What?
Okay.
Oh.
It would be... You don't even need to...
Oh, that's...
1, 2, 3, 4,
Gotcha.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I thought those numbers were the clicks.
And
what
then
are those numbers?
you'll also see you have your big one right there. So those numbers, does anything look interesting to you about what the exercise we just did?
It's on the 3.
And how far is it going to be?
300 yards.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But that's how you read that thing, and that's why that's useful.
Wow, that's breathtaking to think about that. Wow. All right, well, I feel like I get it.
That's what we want.
Very thorough explanation. Cool.
I know that took a long time, but it's important that you get all that.
No, that did not take a long time. I feel like all of that was super important.
Okay.
And I feel a lot better about the whole process now. What else is there to do? So the food is gonna go, cold things are gonna go in here. I wish I had another bag. I love this garage. Somehow it just feels like the platonic garage, you know? Like, it just...
I know that word, but I don't know it in the
like
context
the
you
ideal
just
garage.
used it.
Like, if you looked up, like, the transcendental form of a garage, it would be like this, you know, like if you averaged all the garages in the world together, like, you would get this somehow.
Came up with, like, the quintessential garage.
Yeah, quintessential. This is way good, you know?
Yeah. I do. I like this garage a lot.
It's, like, very just...
I like it a lot better when you have that door closed and this door closed.
Oh, really?
Because I didn't like the idea of leaving my stuff out here, but now I feel great about it.
Oh, hell no. But I do just like that garage open. Like, my uncle just uses the garage as the door. I don't think he uses the front door. Is this crazy?
The only context I know the word that you use, platonic, is like a boy-girl relationship that isn't sexual.
Yeah, that's a different... The platonic I was using is like Plato, who had like the philosopher, whatever, Greek philosopher, who had like
the core
the
essence
ideal
of things.
form.
Yeah.
Like the platonic bowl is like the bowl.
Gotcha. Yeah. The bowl.
What's the platonic gun?
That's it right there.
A bowl. What?
No, the platonic gun would probably be an AR-15.
It's not my